I love that photo. When I first moved here, I took an early morning walk at Grover Beach, and I took this photo. This is what attracted my wife and I to SLO County. This was the image and reputation it has and still clings to. But with the proposed rail terminal, the entire reputation of SLO County is up for grabs. As a community concerned for the well-being of its citizens, as a destination for tourists, as being a model for protecting the environment, as a location for parents to send children to college, as a site for successful new small businesses, and as a shining example of what a community can stand for in a world that often puts mammoth corporations first. If a serious rail tanker accident or oil spill occurred in one or more of our towns, imagine the depth of the impact on SLO County overall. SLO County overall. This is not a NIMBY issue, not in my backyard issue. This is SLO County overall. Let's start with housing. Would you want to live in a county that sets itself up for such disasters? Next, leisure and hospitality. Would you want to vacation in such a county? Launching new businesses. Would you want to start a business in a damaged county? Employment. Would you want to work in such a county? Education. Would you want to send your children to school here? By the way, the tracks carrying oil trains run right through Cal Poly, through its campus, where 18,000 students study and play. And as reported just a few days ago, if you were reading, Cal Poly has a $1.4 billion impact on the economic well-being of SLO County. Let's take another example of what could happen. The business of agriculture. If there were a rail accident, smoke and residue from crude oil fires settling on crops would make them unmarketable. It would also potentially poison soil. So strawberry fields or vineyards would be useless for years. The REIR says so. How do you think that would affect the prestige of our wines and our fruits? One other quick example, our local leisure and hospitality industry. Oil spills or fires could potentially damage tourism to the extent that many small businesses could not survive. If even one such serious incident occurred, the reputation, and that's what I'm talking about, the reputation of the entire county would suffer. No longer would Condé Nast Traveler magazine call SLO, quote, the perfect weekend getaway. No longer would Travel and Leisure magazine rank SLO as one of the top 3 best business college towns, best college towns. No longer would Top Retirements, the website, count SLO among, quote, the most popular places to retire. No longer would Oprah Winfrey select SLO as the happiest place in America. And no longer could a National Geographic author write that SLO residents, quote, enjoy stratospheric level of emotional well-being. No longer. What's the issue? We suggest that our county's economy, continued growth, high quality of life, desirability, and natural beauty would be seriously jeopardized by bringing in 20,800 tank cars of crude oil by rail forever. At the very least, our economic health will be in peril, let alone our lives. The solution, rejection of the Philllips rail terminal project. I'm sure you've heard the phrase that's often attached to SLO County, that it's paradise. That's a great description because it's been true. But we ask that our citizens and officials not allow our county to become paradise lost. That's one. Let's talk, now if you can put, he's on the job. Let's talk tar sands. Let's talk about the type of crude Phillips will likely bring to SLO County by rail. It was specified in an investment newsletter which glowed about the company. It said, quote, Phillips has done a masterful job when it comes to sourcing crude for its refineries. It was one of the first to employ a substantial rail fleet to transport discounted crude from the oil sands. oil sands means tar sands from Canada. And it continues, at one point, Phillips said it was the largest importer of oil sands, tar sands. A Nipomo refinery official recently confirmed this. He told me that under their plan, there's a definite possibility, I think probability, but he said a definite possibility they will ship in tar sands from Canada here. Indeed, they may have already begun doing that to a very small degree. Regardless, it looks like tar sands, or far more of it, is headed our way. So let's examine it. Tar sands is known as a heavy crude, and it has substantially high, and this is key, it has substantially higher concentrations of harmful chemicals than found in conventional crude. It's worse than what is typically refined. More specifically, California Attorney General Harris recently took a negative stand on crude by rail. In her comments, she offered a frightening description of tar sands. Quote, tar sands contains 102 times more copper, 21 times more vanadium, I think that's kryptonite, 11 times more sulfur, 6 times more nitrogen, 11 times more nickel, and 5 times more lead than conventional heavy crude. It's nice stuff. These pollutants contribute to smog. She didn't say nice stuff, that was me. But continue on with her quote. These pollutants contribute to smog, soot, acid rain, and odors that affect residents nearby. End quote. That's our Attorney General. Another official, Senator Barbara Boxer, has addressed the health effects. Quote, she said, to quote her, tar sands is one of the filthiest kinds of oil on our planet. The refinery stage poses health risks, including higher rates of cancers linked to toxic chemicals, including leukemia and non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, end quote. By the way, the issue of tar sands is so new that research into its effect on humans hasn't been completed. But except for the oil companies, there's almost universal agreement that humans and tar sands should not be in the same place at the same time. For example, the main danger is that facilities that refine tar sands can emit significantly higher amounts of sulfur dioxide. And that could lead to asthma, reduced lung function, respiratory weakness, and cardiovascular issues, as well as cancer. Sulfur dioxide is especially dangerous for people who have pre-existing heart and lung conditions. So that's one, just the refining of the tar sands. Secondly, the refining of tar sands yields a significantly higher amount of the byproduct petroleum coke, known by the cute nickname of pet coke. Behind me is a photo of what that looks like, what pet coke looks like. The Nipomo refinery, I don't know why it's called the Santa Maria refinery, it's here in Nipomo. The Nipomo refinery already produces some of this pet coke. It's left outdoors as hills, as you can see, of black granules and dust. This waste product can easily be blown into residential areas here by onshore winds. That, of course, is not a good thing, because pet coke is also linked to potential increases in heart attacks and respiratory issues. The proposed rail terminal calls for 2 new tracks for the loading of pet coke. And Phillips recently hired 3 new, quote, to quote their flyer, coke operators, additional coke operators. So we must assume they intend to significantly increase pet coke production, something the REIR does not address. Finally, there's also the issue of 520 trains moving through the pet coke fields at the refinery, launching the dust into the air to be carried by onshore winds. And there are the unwashed tankers leaving the site with pet coke dust clinging to them, spreading it along the main line in SLO County. The bottom line, approving the rail terminal very likely means tar sands will have found a major home here. Bringing in tar sands means more pollution, both from its refining and the resulting pet coke. On the other hand, No rail terminal means all of this will either be minimized or eliminated from SLO County. One more thing. My colleagues have asked me to briefly also address another pollution issue and how Phillips proposes to supposedly make it all go away. And that involves their use of pollution emission credits. The REIR states that the pollution generated by the project, both within and outside SLO County on the main line is the Union Pacific line, could be significant and unavoidable. That's why they classify it as a Class 1 impact. It's significant and unavoidable. These pollutants include diesel particulate matter, which of course will come from the diesel locomotives of the 520 trains. The report states that one of the ways Phillips would reduce these emissions is by applying emission credits earned years ago. This would be a get-out-of-jail-free card, because then they could spew new pollution into the air regardless of the effects and simply not worry about it. As most of us know, the air quality on the Nipomo Mesa already exceeds federal and state standards. Paul Stoppelman will be talking about that in a moment. Yet the REIR is written as if everything will be okay for the human beings who have to breathe the additional pollutants because Phillips can offset it by using credits. Duh. Phillips says, and they constantly tell you they're, quote, good neighbors. Remember, this is not the same guys. These are different people. It's a new company. This is not the same good old boys. Phillips says they're good neighbors. Since when does a good neighbor pump additional pollutants into your body, then simply shrug and walk away? Even if they have the legal ability to use those credits, and they probably do, even if they have the legal ability, does that make it right to consciously further poison the air that children, teenagers, and adults will breathe? I think you know the answer.